What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review, and I'm here with my weekly news roundup. Weekly news roundup for everything in movies, TV, or at least everything that caught my eye. So let's dive right in and get into some of the things that were talked about this week. First of all, you had the big Wonder Woman plot leak. You know, a couple weeks ago, the poster came out, and the poster looked great, by the way. Kind of has a Thor Ragnarok vibe to it, but the poster does look great for Wonder Woman 1984. But the plot leak for Wonder Woman 1984 came out, and the plot leak involves Maxwell Lord. And it involves Maxwell Lord kind of... apparently in this script, Maxwell Lord is going to have the ability to grant wishes. Which makes me doubt how much validity this has. Because please keep in mind, this should all be taken with a grain of salt. This is an internet plot leak, not an official press release from Warner Brothers. In the comics, Maxwell Lord had kind of the ability to offer suggestion to people, you know, to kind of mind control people. And it looks like they're taking his power a little bit different in this version. They're going to have him be able to grant people wishes. And apparently, that's going to be how Steve Trevor returns from the dead. It's a wish from Diana to have Steve Trevor back, and apparently Maxwell Lord is going to grant that. And it's important to note that in some versions of the comics, Maxwell Lord has been a good guy. He's been an ally to the Justice League. He's been a solid dude. In other iterations, probably the most iterations of Maxwell Lord, he is not a good guy, not a solid dude. He is a villain, he is a bad guy. It's also worth noting here that Wonder Woman in the comics killed Maxwell Lord. And I would argue that, I think a lot of people would argue that she didn't just kill him, she murdered him. She murdered him in response to, I believe Maxwell Lord killed Blue Beetle right before Final Crisis, right? He killed Ted Kord, and then Wonder Woman responded to that with snapping his neck, very brutally in cold blood. It would ultimately put her at odds with Bruce and Clark, Batman and Superman, how she cold-bloodedly killed Maxwell Lord. So I think that's interesting, having Maxwell Lord in this movie, especially given his, I think he's more closely associated with the Justice League than anything, but given his history with the Wonder Woman character, I think that's interesting. Maxwell Lord did appear just a couple years ago in Justice League vs. Suicide Squad, and had a very prominent role in that. So he is kind of fresh in a lot of readers' minds, but most people in the movie-going public aren't gonna know Maxwell Lord from the dude walking down the street. They just aren't. So I think it's important that it's okay if they change his powers. It's okay if they change his origin, but it's okay. It's important to establish him as being somebody. Hey, yeah, this is somebody that does have a history in the comics. This is somebody that you want to maybe Google. Apparently, Cheetah gets her powers from Maxwell Lord as well. And that initially, apparently, she wants to be a good guy, and that her evolution, her story arc leads her to becoming a bad guy, somebody who's very much at odds with Diana. So I like that as well. I always like bad guys that start out good or think they're good, and then eventually put them at odds with the hero. So, does this sound like a good plot leak to me? Does this sound like something that could potentially be the plot of the movie? I think so at this point. I think that Maxwell Lord is definitely going to play some role in Wonder Woman 1984. There's been enough sources say that he's going to be in this movie that I think he's going to have some role. We know that Cheetah's going to be in it, and that she's going to be the main villain. But does this sound like something that's viable? Yeah, I think this is viable. I think this is something that is probably going to happen. I really do. I think this plot leak is legit, and it's probably going to happen. Cheetah's probably going to be the main antagonist. I could see Maxwell Lord definitely being a main antagonist as well. I hope that Diana and Cheetah, Wonder Woman and Cheetah, don't team up at the end to take out Maxwell Lord, because Cheetah's like Diana's Joker. You know, Superman's Lex Luthor. Like, that's the main bad guy. So I don't want to see this idea of the two of them teaming up to take out the greater threat of Maxwell Lord. I want to see Diana and Cheetah be at odds throughout the whole movie. But yeah, I think this is going to be a legit plot leak. I really do. Let's get on to another plot leak. And this one is a lot more significant in some ways. Because this movie is coming out soon. And this movie has this plot leak could have lasting ramifications in the MCU. So let's talk about the rumored post-credit sequence in Spider-Man Far From Home. It is rumored that Norman Osborn shows up in the end credit sequence for Spider-Man Far From Home. This isn't a spoiler. This isn't me sharing information that I have. This is just speculation that I've read online that I'm repeating. This should be taken with a very much a grain of salt, because this was not from a critic. This was not from somebody who saw the movie. This is somebody who hasn't seen the movie, who leaked something online, and I think it's worth talking about. I know that a few people have seen the movie now. In fact, people have seen the movie, are saying it's great, are saying it might be the best Spider-Man movie of all time, better than Into the Spider-Verse, better than Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. They're saying this is great. And they're saying there's a lot of surprises. And I feel like having Norman Osborn show up in a post-credit sequence, I feel like that'd be a huge surprise. They're also saying that he meets with the Scorpion, the Vulture, several other low-level bad guys that's going to be teasing the Sinister Six. Do I see that? I think so. I mean, Michael Keaton we know is in this movie in some capacity. Is it just for the post-credit sequence? I don't know. But I do believe that Sony was really high on the idea of doing the Sinister Six. Sony really wanted to do the Sinister Six in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. And when that universe fell apart, they had to retool and join the MCU and move forward from there. I believe they're still high on doing the Sinister Six. I believe that's still a priority for Sony. So I could definitely see them using a post-credit sequence with Norman Osborn to pull together the Sinister Six, including the Scorpion, including the Vulture, both of which we've seen already. Mysterio would probably be a part of that group as well. So yeah, I think this is going to happen. Rumor has it that Norman Osborn is going to play a big role moving forward in the MCU. That he is actually the person that bought Avengers Tower, Stark Tower. That it wasn't Reed Richards that bought it, but it was Norman Osborn that bought Stark Tower. And that moving forward, he's going to play a big role as a big bad in the MCU. Having seen the plot or the leak for Phase 4, I'm not so sure how Norman Osborn would play a big role moving forward in the MCU. Because there's not a lot of if this leak for Phase 4 is legitimate, which it might not be. This leak for Phase 4, I already did a video on it a few days ago. But this leak for Phase 4 might be completely illegitimate. None of these movies might show up in Phase 4 for all we know. But if this is a legitimate leak, and those 7 movies that I talked about in my MCU Phase 4 video, if those 7 movies end up being Phase 4, I have a hard time believing that Norman Osborn's going to play a big role moving forward in the MCU. I don't see how he would fit into any of those movies. But apparently, the rumors are, he's going to play a big role moving forward. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how Norman Osborn is going to play moving forward, and what presence he's going to have in Far From Home. I don't believe he's going to have any presence until the very end. But I could be wrong. Let's move forward to, while we're still on that in that Marvel world, let's talk about Marvel is coming to Hall H Comic-Con this year. That is such huge news, because Marvel had backed out, and they weren't going to be in Comic-Con. They didn't do Comic-Con last year. We know that. They didn't do Comic-Con last year. And our belief was that they weren't going to do Comic-Con this year. They were just going to sit Comic-Con out again and have a big presence at D23 again. Then Warner Brothers DC backed out. And we found out that Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, The Joker, Suicide Squad 2, none of those movies were going to have any kind of presence at Comic-Con this year. When Warner Brothers backed out, I believe that the MCU saw a huge opportunity. As in, hey, we can have Comic-Con all to ourselves. There's a gaping hole there. Let's jump on this. And I believe they jumped on Hall H and they made it happen. And now we're going to have, I believe Phase 4 will be announced at Hall H Comic-Con. I believe that 100%. I believe that initially they were thinking about holding it for D23. But now I believe 110% we're going to get our Phase 4 announcement during Comic-Con this year. I believe we're going to get Black Widow footage. I believe we're going to get some Eternals casting announcements. I believe we're going to get maybe a Shang-Chi casting announcement. I believe that it wouldn't surprise me if James Gunn showed up and talked a little bit about his plans for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I believe that given the fact that we've got this gaping hole in Comic-Con now, that Marvel is going to make as much bang as they can, and they're going to show up and they're going to just tell us a whole bunch. They're going to talk to us about the Disney Plus Marvel shows that are coming out, the Hawkeye show, the Loki show. They might even, I believe they probably will have footage for the Loki show, because I think the Loki show is filming already. Loki, the WandaVision, I believe they're going to show us a bunch. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think they're going to have a lot there to show us, and a lot there to unpack, and I hope so. I'm really looking forward to Comic-Con this year now. Honestly, when WB backed out, I was like, well, Comic-Con's going to be kind of a bust this year. I honestly thought that. I was like, Comic-Con's going to be kind of a bust. Yeah, WB's still going to have a presence. There'll still be a Disney presence there, but without the MCU, without the DCEU, without either one of them being there, I honestly was like, it's going to be a bust. And now that Marvel's back, it's like, yes, let's do this. So, that's something to keep in our mind, is that Marvel will be at Hall H Comic-Con this year. Speaking of Marvel, and backtracking and speaking of Spider-Man a little bit, Kevin Feige was recently asked, will we see a Spider-Man Venom crossover? And his response was very encouraging. He said, probably. It's in Sony's court, but probably. So that's something to keep our eye on as well. I know that there was the rumor for a while that Spider-Man 3, Sony wanted Deadpool to be in Spider-Man 3, but now the rumors are actually that Sony wants Venom to be in Spider-Man 3. I think that's a better fit. I really do. So, that kind of wraps up the Marvel piece of this news wrap-up. There's a couple other things I wanted to touch on here. Before I get to the DC properties, we've already talked about Wonder Woman, but that was kind of the lead story as far as I was concerned. Before we get to some of the DC stuff I wanted to talk about, let's talk about the new Ghostbuster movie. It came out this last week that it is official. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Sigourney Weaver, and Annie Potts are all returning to the new Ghostbuster movie, which I believe is filming right now. We got the teaser last year that the new Ghostbusters movie is coming out, and it's a sequel to the first two. And then we learned that the lead actors are going to be kids kind of taking up the mantle, but we were told that it was going to be set in the world of the original two, that it was going to be a sequel, but we weren't sure if it was going to have any connections at all to the originals. Maybe it was a sequel in the sense that it was just taking place in that world. We didn't know. Now we know that there is going to be close ties to the first two, because Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Sigourney Weaver, and Annie Potts are all four coming back for the sequel. I don't know about Ernie Hudson yet. They haven't said anything about Ernie Hudson, but it would not surprise me one bit if he's back as well. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting for years. I've been waiting for Ghostbusters 3 for years. 2 decades. 2 decades. I grew up with the original Ghostbusters movie. When I was a kid watching the first Ghostbusters, I used to love Bill Murray's character so much that when I was watching the movie, I would do what he was doing in the living room. If he was walking, I was walking. If he was shooting ghosts, I was pretending like I was shooting ghosts. I was little, mind you. I was like 6 or 7, maybe 8, somewhere in that department. But I remember doing what Bill Murray was doing. Ghostbusters 2 came out. Went to the theater to see it. Yeah, today I watched Ghostbusters 2 and I'm like, yeah, that wasn't a very good movie. I was enthralled as a kid. I remember watching the Statue of Liberty walking down New York. I remember looking at my mom and looking at my dad saying, this is great. And them looking at me like, what did you just say? Like, they didn't like it. But I was like, yeah, you guys know how I am with nostalgia. And this is nostalgia. Can't wait for Ghostbusters 3, guys. Can't wait. And the fact that we got the original cast coming back, they're probably going to play small roles, but that's fine. It's connected to the original. That was what was so wrong with the remake. I don't care if it was all chicks. If you care about the fact that it was all chicks, then you're dumb. You're insecure man baby. I didn't care it was all chicks. I cared that they ignored the first two. That's what I cared about. And then the movie wasn't very good anyways. Chris Hemsworth was funny. Nothing else was funny. But the fact that it wasn't connected to the original, I wrote it off immediately. Yeah, I watched it, but I watched it reluctantly. And I already had a bad taste in my mouth when I was going in to watch it. You don't want that with your movie. You want people pumped about it. I wasn't pumped about the Ghostbusters reboot. I'm pumped about this one. I'm pumped about Ghostbusters 3. Let's get it. So, I'm excited about that. Also, more sequel news. Halloween 2. Jason Blum has come out and said that Halloween 2 is scheduled to start shooting this fall for a 2020 release date. And Jamie Lee Curtis will be back. So that's exciting. I love Halloween 2018. Can't wait to see where they go next. And it starts shooting this fall. It's not big, and it comes out in 2020. It's not going to be a very long shoot. It'll probably come out around Halloween of 2020. So they're going to have a year to shoot it, go into post-production, and wrap it up and get it in theaters. That's plenty of time for a movie like this. I can't wait. Can't wait. The second one, 2018 was so good. Don't know where they're going to go from here because dude burned alive in the basement, but it is Michael Myers. So, super excited about Halloween 2 coming out next year. Could we be seeing another season of The Witch? Probably not. Michael Myers is way too bankable, but that would be cool. Alright, into some DC stuff. First of all, how exciting is it that Burt Ward is finally getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, being able to join his old buddy Adam West with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. For those who don't know, Burt Ward played Robin in the original Batman TV show, Batman 66. So that's something that's well-deserved, and kudos to him. Finally, this is kind of cool news. We know that Lobo is coming to Krypton. Doomsday is coming to Krypton. Krypton is the TV show, the Superman prequel TV show. Doomsday's there. Lobo's there. Brainiac is there. A lot of Superman's rogue gallery is in the Krypton TV show. Sci-Fi just announced that Lobo's going to get his own spin-off TV show. Pretty excited about this. The character does look like Lobo. It looks like they have got a pretty faithful interpretation of the character. I haven't seen him on Krypton yet. I don't even know where they're at on it. I'll probably binge season 2 all at once. So I don't even know exactly if he's been on the show yet. But if he has been, I haven't seen it yet. But I'm excited about the prospect of a Lobo TV show. I've been wanting a Lobo movie for years. He's a great character. He's the Deadpool of the DC Universe. He's a different character than Deadpool, but he's the Deadpool of the DC Universe. So I'm very much looking forward to this show, and I'm hoping that they capture the spirit of Lobo without watering him down and making him kind of this generic testosterone-driven character, which Lobo is those things, but he's also funny, self-referential. He's a parody of superheroes. I hope they stay in that realm as well. So, that's my thoughts on the Lobo character, and that is my news wrap-up for this week. I'm going to try to start doing this every Friday now, just because I want to stay on top of what's happening in the news with movies and TV, and this will help me do that. So, thanks for watching. Hey guys, I really appreciate you being here, watching the LQ review. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well, because that helps me get views. And again, thank you so much for being here, where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we'd love to talk about. And until next time, we'll see you later.